The racers are on the line. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to get underway with the 101st Loudon Classic. Off the line like a rocket goes Tyler Scott. And it'll be Tyler Scott into the first turn in the hole shot. He's got that one handily. Look at that, 32 racers plowing through this course like nobody's business into turn number 2. Tyler Scott in the lead. 25 laps await these racers. Once again, Tyler Scott posting the very fastest time we've seen in Loudon in the past 3 years, a 1:09 in qualifying earlier today. He is leading the train up to the flag section, coming down into turn number 6. This is going to be a great shot for the fans up in those stands in turn 6. We call this the bowl. He comes slingshotting out of the bowl, that big high bank track. Tyler Scott working his way around the track. Bobby Fong right behind. Super fast pace. We should see a 1:14 at the wire when they come across the timer. Let's go to the clocks in just a few moments here as we see these racers working their way through the turns nicely out of the chicane and into turn number 12. Here they come.
Eli's up there.
Going to the clocks now. Tyler Scott in the lead. Teague Hobbs posting the fastest lap time at 1:14. Tyler Scott in the lead, Teague Hobbs right behind. It's Bobby Fong in third place. Hayden Gillum, Stefano Mesa, Joseph Lamandry Jr., Eric Wood, Eli Block, David Anthony. Rounding out the top 10, Tyler O'Hara. That's a very fast R6 that he's on. He's borrowing it from Blake Davis, and he thanks Blake's for the loan of that R6. This is the first time in 15 years that Tyler O'Hara has raced an R6. He's only had a couple days of practice on that thing. He's known for his bagger expertise, and we'll see him later this afternoon in that bagger race. Tyler O'Hara joining us from Petaluma, California. But the big news, Tyler Scott starting to lengthen his lead over Teague Hobbs. Hobbs having the fastest lap time at 1:14.330. At this blistering pace, we should see 1:10s coming across the timer. Perhaps 1:11s, but here they come out of the chicane. Tyler Scott being pursued, and it is a clean race so far. So good, with 24 laps to go. Here we go. Tyler Scott coming across the timer. Let's go to the clocks now. And it's a 1:11.1 for Tyler Scott in the lead, and now with the fastest lap time at 1:11.195, proving that his win at the Loudon Classic last year, certainly no fluke. Tyler Scott on fire now. A little bit of traffic for the racers right behind him coming into turn number 3. Can't come in too hot into that one. We've seen riders plow right into the tires there if they sweep too wide. Eric Wood right in the mix. The man knows this track better than anyone. He's been racing here forever. Started racing when he was 5 years old. He's now in his 50s and is the head honcho at Penguin Racing School. They train here all the time, so he knows this track intimately well and its special nuances. Tyler Scott joining us from the Keystone State of Pennsylvania in the lead. Hayden Gillum starting to close the gap on Bobby Fong. And here they come down the straight. It'll be 22 laps to go when they cross the wire. Here we go. Tyler Scott. Let's see if he drops that lap time. His fastest lap on that last one, 1:11.195. Bobby Fong through the timer at 1:11.290. Fast lap, but not quite as fast as Tyler Scott's 1:11.195. So your top 3, Tyler Scott, Bobby Fong, Teague Hobbs. They're followed by Hayden Gillum, Stefano Mesa, Joseph Lamandry Jr., Eric Wood holding strong in 7th. Right behind Eric, Eli Block. David Anthony, followed by Tyler O'Hara. O'Hara has not moved. He's sticking strong in the top 10. That's an impressive accomplishment given the fact that he hasn't raced on an R6 in 15 years. And he's on a borrowed bike from his buddy Blake Davis of Blake Davis Racing. In the turn number 10, it is still Tyler Scott running this race like nobody's business. As they go blasting into the chicane, Scott not really lengthening his lead too much over Bobby Fong or Teague Hobbs. Fong swapping positions with Hobbs. Here we come now. Into the timer. Let's go to the clocks. Scott right down on his gas tank. Super aerodynamic position. Bobby Fong with a new fast lap time, 111.011. Fractions of a second ahead of Tyler Scott's fastest lap time. Bobby Fong from California holding strong in second place as the leaders go blasting into turn number 3. Scott knows that he can't back off one iota off that throttle if he's to top the podium again in 2024 for the 101st Loudon Classic. It was a big paycheck for him last year. $55,000 went back to his home state of Pennsylvania, and he'd love to repeat that, breaking into the 6 figures from Loudon. Here comes Tyler Scott out of turn number 10. Some of the racers going wider than others in turn 10, right into the chicane. And as this race progresses, the chicane has proven to be a real bottleneck for some of the racers if they end up lapping the slower racers. Let's see what Tyler Scott's turning for a lap time now as they cross the timer. Bobby Fong continues to drop the lap time. Now it's down. Hayden Gillum just beat the Fong time. Now he's down to fractions away from 110, 111.005. Hayden Gillum riding on bike number 95X, absolutely on fire today. Stefano Mesa and Teague Hobbs dropping back just a little bit in the standings. We've got Tyler Scott in the lead, Bobby Fong in second, Hayden Gillum in third with the fastest lap time now, Stefano Mesa in fourth, Teague Hobbs in fifth. Rounding out the top 10 are Joseph Lamandry Jr. in sixth. Eric Wood hasn't moved. He's stayed in seventh place, right in front of Eli Block in eighth. David Anthony, Ben Glotty now in 10th place. Tyler O'Hare bounced back to 11th. Shane Narbonne, the 10-time winner of the Loudon Classic, in 12th. Alex Dumas from Canada in 13th. Tyler Sweeney in 14th. Spencer Humphreys right behind Sweeney. They're followed by Carl Solitz, Jacob Crossman from Loudon, JC Camacho, Justin Landry, Kevin Nolde, Daniel Weems, Asher Rubright from Vermont in 22nd, Brian Fernald, Paul Duval, Joel Laub, Rick Doucette, Harlan Hildebrand, Michael Lee, Ezra Bobier, Kyle Thompson, Levi Blatty, and Ian Beam. We've got a 110. Hayden Gillum just crossed through the timer at 110.813. Track conditions absolutely mint for the racers. 19 laps to go for your leaders. Big tip of the hat to Mike Wankum, our racing meteorologist, who was very diligent about watching the pattern of storms working their way through the Granite State today, helping out the executive branch to make the right call to hold off the racing until the track was dried out and the racers could put on the show that we're watching right now. With Tyler Scott in the lead, Bobby Fong in second, Hayden Gillum with the fastest lap time at 110.813. Here they come. No change in the top 3 as they come through. It's Scott, Fong, Gillum. And no change in the fastest lap time. Still belongs to Hayden Gillum, 110.813. There goes Tyler O'Hare through the timer. 11th place for the Californian. He's dropped back to 12th place now as Shane Narbonne pops up a spot to 11th. Ben Glotty in 10th. David Anthony in 9th. Eric Wood and Eli Block have not swapped positions for the entire race in 7th and 8th place respectively. Wood in 7th, Block in 8th. Joe Lamandry Jr. in 6th. Teague Hobbs in 5th. Stefano Mesa in 4th, and your top 3 in 1st, Tyler Scott, followed by Bobby Fong and Hayden Gillum, who has the fastest lap time. The pace, relentless. These racers are putting on a show for you right now. Here they come around out of the chicane. The gap between Fong and Scott couldn't be tighter, as here they come in the front straight. Scott maintaining that position right over the gas tank as the two racers go blasting through. A 110.968 for Scott. Bobby Fong with a 110.942. Hayden Gillum, 110.813. Those are the only 3 racers with 110s at this point. We could see that time go lower, but right now it is impressive to see how these racers are just ripping around the track, posting these 110s. From there we go to Stefano Mesa in 4th, Teague Hobbs in 5th. Hobbs, Lemandry, Wood, and Block, all with 111s. Rounding out the top 10 is David Anthony and Ben Glotty. And here comes that trio, the fastest 3 racers on the track into the chicanes. Here they come into turn number 12. And into the front straight. Here are your leaders. Blasting through the timers. Scott, Fong, Gillum, no change in the order, no change in the fastest lap time. That still belongs to Hayden Gillum at 110.813. Thanks so much for coming out to cheer on your favorite racer here at Loudon for the running of the 101st Loudon Classic. You're witnessing history as it unfolds here at the track. And what a show from your first 3 racers. The only 3 racers with 110s on the clock. They're kind of establishing themselves in a league of their own as they go in the backstretch past the pine trees now. That's the highest point on the track. When they cross the timer, it'll be 15 laps to go. Total of 40 miles for the racers. A lot of endurance, the concentration it takes to stay alert and nimble on this track with less than a bike length separating the racers as they come through the chicane. Here they come to the timer. Scott, Fung, Hayden, Gillum. In that order. Fastest lap time remains for Hayden Gillum, 110.813. And it's amazing how consistent they are, these 3 racers. Anybody's guess who's it going to be at the finish line, because as they come into the tighter parts of the track, they're less than a bike length apart. Tyler Scott coming into the bowl section now, leading Fong and Gillum. Slingshotting out of the bowl section, right past the stands, and now past the pine trees. Speeds well into the 100+ mile an hour mark. We're seeing some fast times turned in. And keep in mind that Tyler Scott had the fastest qualifying time at 109. The first time we've seen a sub 110 here at Loudon in the past 3 years. Scott, Fong, Gillum. Exiting turn number 12. Throttle wide open as they blast through the timer. 14 laps to go for your leaders. We're a little less than halfway through the race. Rounding out the top 5 are Stefano Mesa and Teague Hobbs. In the top 10, Joseph Lemandry Jr., Eric Wood, and Eli Block. Still in 7th and 8th place, Ben Glotty and David Anthony round out the top 10. Behind them, Shane Narbonne, just out of the top 10, currently in 11th place. He's followed by Tyler Sweeney, Alex Dumas, Tyler O'Hara, Jacob Crossman, Spencer Humphreys, Carl Solitz, JC Camacho, Justin Landry, Kevin Nolde, Asher Rubright, Daniel Weems, Brian Fernald, Rick Doucette moving up nicely, Harlan Hildebrand, Paul Duval, Ezra Beaubier, Joel Laub, Kyle Thompson, Michael Lee, Levy Batty, and Ian Bean. It's incredible the pace that these guys are keeping, and here they come, lap after lap, challenging one another. Scott, Fong, Gillum. And unbelievably, they are about to overtake some of the racers as they come into turn number 3. There goes Scott. Wow. That bike is unbelievably fast as they come into turn number 3. All 3 racers have now lapped a slower rider as they work their way up past the flagpoles. These 3 racers are absolutely on fire. Tyler Scott, Bobby Fong, and Hayden Gillum. Stefano Mesa and Teague Hobbs battling it out for 4th and 5th. Keep in mind that the first place check going home with the winner, $55,000, $35,000 for second, $25,000 for third. As the racers come blasting into the chicane section, Gillum trying to close the gap on Fong. Fong shuts him down as they come out of turn number 11 and 12. Fong with a little defensive work right there. Tyler Scott knows that he's got competition right behind, but he also has some traffic in the crosshairs now as he comes into turn number 1. The question is where to make the move to pass. So far, Tyler Scott's made that move brilliantly as they work their way around the track. Here he comes into the straight right before turn number 3. As they come out of turn number 6, you should see him pretty close to the racers in front of him. Meanwhile, the gap between Fong and Gillum continues to close. Tyler Scott slingshots out of the bowl nicely, hitting the apex right where he needed to, and here he goes past the pine trees now. It looks like he'll be clear of traffic once he gets out of the chicane. Fong and Gillum super tight right there. Gillum continues to press Fong, trying to make that pass. And there comes Scott through the timer. 111.150. No change for the fastest lap time. That still belongs to Hayden Gillum, holding strong in 3rd place. Laps to go to determine who will be the 2024 Loudon Classic champion. Tyler Scott continues to lead the field, riding on bike number 70X, the 2023 winner of the 100th annual Loudon Classic, proving that that was not a fluke of any kind. Hayden Gillum now moving past Bobby Fong into 2nd place. Fong now with his sights set on Tyler Scott. Fong slipping back into 3rd. Last lap time, 112.773 for Fong, a little off the pace. Both Scott and Gillum posting 111s, a full second ahead of Bobby Fong on that last lap. All it takes is a slip between the bowl and the lip in this game. And the racer will be there to take a position away. And that's exactly what happened with Gillum and Fong. Gillum was pressuring him all the way around the track until he finally made the move and passed him, and is now with his sights set on Tyler Scott. Scott posting a 111.003 on that last lap. Very close to his fastest lap time of 110.968. Hayden Gillum putting on quite the show. He's got the fast 2nd place position and the fastest lap time of 110.813. There goes Alex Dumas through the timer. Tyler O'Hara back in 14th place. Jacob Crossman in 15th. Spencer Humphreys right behind Crossman. Carl Soltis, riding on bike number 60. Carl joins us from Springfield Township, Michigan, making the big trip from the Heartland, sponsored by Dunlop Bison Track, Wild Manufacturing. Enjoys snowboarding, mountain bikes, jet skiing, and video games. Great to have Carl joining us all the way from Michigan. Tyler Scott, putting on quite the show, continues to lead the field. Keep an eye on bike number 70X, Hayden Gillum, trying to track him down on bike number 95X. Tyler Scott's technique, absolutely flawless. He gets down into the most aerodynamic position possible to keep that bike just as fast as possible. Tyler Scott continues to lead, but you can see that Hayden Gillum doing his best to close that gap. Bobby Fong a little bit off the pace of those two. Now there they come into turn number 10. Tyler Scott knows that he's got fast racers right behind him, and here comes Gillum making a big move in the chicane, closing the gap significantly in the first turn of the chicane. And now he's just a couple bike lengths behind Tyler Scott. Here they come down the front stretch. Tyler Scott with 6 laps to go. Gillum stalking him down into turn number 1. Coming out of turn number 2 now. Gillum putting the pressure on. Bobby Fong off the pace of the two leaders at this point. Gillum rocketing through turn number 3. Fong trying to catch those two. Here comes your next racers. Behind Fong is Stefano Mesa and Teague Hobbs. They round out the top 5. Joseph Lemandry Jr., Eli Block, Ben Glotty. Dave Anthony, Eric Wood dropping back to 10th place at this point. Past champion of the Loudon Classic. Gillum has his crosshairs set on Tyler Scott as they come blasting into the chicane. This is where he made up considerable distance on Scott, right in the middle of the chicane, and he's doing exactly the same thing. Somehow he's figured out how to straighten out the chicane, and here he comes out of turn number 12. About 20 meters behind Tyler Scott. Super fast pace. Gillum, keep in mind, has the fastest lap time at 1:10.771. Gillum and Scott now encountering a little bit of traffic as they catch some of the slower riders. And we don't mean that disparagingly. Anybody in this race is an incredibly fast racer. It's just that these guys are so fast. Gillum sees that Scott now has a little bit of traffic that he's got to contend with as he goes into the bowl section. That's turn number 6, right in front of the stands. Slingshotting out of the bowl. There goes Scott. Gillum right behind. They're going to be coming into turn number 10. And Gillum closing the gap alarmingly. He goes to the inside, almost passing Scott right in the middle of turn 10, right at the apex of the turn. Here they come into the chicane, and this is where Gillum has proven himself to be a real contender. There's the pass right there. Gillum is now in front of Scott. As they exit turn number 12, Gillum has moved ahead of Tyler Scott. He'll be coming across the timer. He used that racer brilliantly as a block. And Gillum now moving ahead of Tyler Scott. Wow, some great racing there from Hayden Gillum. A little bit of back and forth right now between Gillum and Scott as they work their way up past the flagpoles. Hayden Gillum in the lead and the fastest lap time, 1:10.771. Very distinctive leathers, bright orange and yellow. You can't miss him. He's now about a bike length ahead of Tyler Scott. It all came down to turn number 10 when he kept the gas wide open and Scott ended up getting caught in the chicane, and that's where Gillum seems to really excel in his ability to straighten out the chicane. Here they come. They've got a little traffic to contend with. Gillum on the outside of that rider. Then he goes to the inside. Scott tries to make that to his advantage. It doesn't work out, and he's still trying to track down Gillum. Gillum through the timer. Super fast pace. Very easy to pick him out with that yellow motorcycle. He is now about 2 bike lengths ahead of Tyler Scott as they come rocketing out of turn number 2. Your leaders have 3 laps to go, so if Tyler Scott is going to pass Gillum, it's got to be in the next 3 laps. Gillum dropping it low in turn number 3. Scott has got to reach deep down into his hat to pull out a rabbit at this point to catch the fast Hayden Gillum. They come firing out of turn number 6, the infamous bowl section of this track. The 1.6 mile track, 25 laps, that's a total of 40 miles. Here they come now into turn number 10. This is where Gillum made his big move that put him in great position for the chicane. Once again, we've got a little traffic for the leaders as they come into the chicane. 2 riders in front of them. Gillum didn't back off at all. Scott right on his tail as they come blasting through the timer once again. 2 laps to go for the racers. At the front of the pack. And Gillum shows no sign of backing off whatsoever. As they come out of turn number 2, once again we see a little traffic for your leaders. Gillum right up against the wall. Coming into turn number 3 now. Experiencing a little bit of traffic. Track conditions couldn't be more conducive for world records here at Loudon. Special thanks to the entire team for making the right call to hold off until we had dry track conditions for these racers. We're watching some incredible talent here as Hayden Gillum and Tyler Scott battle it out to the finish line. Special thanks to Scott Cole, Rebecca Mascaro at the finish line, taking care of the flag duties as we see Hayden Gillum leading the pack out of the chicanes. Tyler Scott now caught up in a little bit of traffic. Goes to the outside of the traffic, but that allows Hayden Gillum to just distance himself. The white flag is out. We're down to the final lap of the 101st Loudon Classic. Hayden Gillum in the lead. He has the fastest lap time, and he's in the lead. Tyler Scott knows that he's got to perform some magic right now if he's going to catch the fast Hayden Gillum. Here he comes into turn number 3. Hayden Gillum in the lead. Turn number 3. Now in the rear view mirror. Here he comes up past the flags. Gillum in the bright orange and yellow leathers, the yellow motorcycle, easy to pick out of the crowd as he comes slingshotting out of the bowl section. He's now at the highest point of the track, the pine tree section. Hayden Gillum about 0.8 miles into the track. He's got 0.8 miles to go, about a half mile to the finish line for Hayden Gillum. Right behind him is Tyler Scott. Into the chicanes, and this is where Gillum has excelled. He really knows how to ride the chicane nicely. Coming out of the chicane ahead of Scott, and it's going to be all blue skies for Hayden Gillum as he approaches the finish line to take the checkered flag for the win at the 101st Loudon Classic. Congratulations to your winner, Hayden Gillum, your winner of the 101st Loudon Classic. Right behind him, the 100th Loudon Classic winner, Tyler Scott, your second place finisher. What a fabulous result. Bobby Fong hanging in there, the Californian, on the podium for third place. A brilliant race for Bobby Fong. Stefano Mesa right behind. Here they come. Teague Hobbs, Joseph Lemandry Jr., Ben Glotty, Eli Block. A top 10 finish for Block, and that is great news for the Connecticut racer. Currently in fourth place in the Junior Cup Championship standings in Moto America. Great race there for Eli Block, an 8th place finish. Eric Wood with a top 10 finish, 10th place finisher. David Anthony in 9th. Shane Narbonne, the 10-time winner of the Loudon Classic, settling for an 11th place finish today here at Loudon. Tyler Sweeney in 12th. Alex Dumas, the talented Canadian, in 13th. Tyler O'Hara, amazingly, in 14th place. That's an incredible finish, given the fact that he's on a borrowed R6, and it's the first time he's raced that R6 in 15 years, and still places 14th. Jacob Crossman from right here in downtown Loudon with a nice finish in 15th. Carl Solitz in 16th. Justin Landry, followed by J.C. Camacho, Asher Rubright from Vermont. That's an impressive finish for the Vermonter. Kevin Noldie, Rick Doucette with a 21st place. Ezra Bobier, Brian Fernald, Daniel Weems, all crossing the finish line. What a fabulous race. Congratulations to your race winner, Hayden Gillum, with a very impressive performance. Tactfully, a brilliant rider. Strategically, unbelievable result. We'll see you down at Victory Lane for presentation of awards for this, the 101st Loudon Classic.